I think that's when they got this new metal kind of genre, and then not only that, I think it got oversaturated with guys that it wasn't their lifestyle.
AirPods rocking, huh?
Yeah, I've been wanting to get the latest ones. I just never. I don't think about it until now.
Yeah, I just grabbed a pair of them on Amazon Prime Day. I never do the Prime deals, but like for whatever reason, like that popped up in my feed. I'm like, I have been meaning to get a pair of those because when you're doing housework and shit with like some wired headphones and like it gets stuck on your knee and it yanks out your ear and shit.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna get them because we just mixed the record, and I guess the new thing is the whole Atmos, mixing and stuff, and so you can't hear it. And I mean I guess that the new iPod or excuse me, what are they, iBuds or whatever, they have the mixing capabilities.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've never heard it, but I guess it's like life changing.
Oh shit!
Everybody that has them and they hear these new like surround sound mixes, they say it's like next level stuff. So that's the reason why I'm trying to get them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, on that topic, dude, how's the new record going? How's the progress been with that so far?
It's been a long progress, just because COVID and everything, and once COVID hit, it was like everybody thought, well, we can make records and get everything out and get ready to go. But it was kind of a difficult thing for us because we're used to being together and writing together.
Right.
So it was a different process for us, but now it's it's mixed, mastered, ready to go, but we aren't releasing it till next year because it's the way labels work and trying to get it, whatever. But it's cool because they're gonna waterfall like a bunch of different singles and stuff like that. So it should be cool. So hopefully the plan is by the time the record comes out, you would have already seen, 3 videos, heard 4 or 5 songs. So
yeah, I mean, that seems to be the way to go, for sure, is to just, just get those singles out, give people little tastes, little tidbits.
Yeah.
Like, can we expect more of the old school P.O.D. sound from this record, or is this just like a whole new era for the band, you think?
No, I mean, all we know how to do is be ourselves, you know what I mean? But I think this album is definitely more, it's more rockin'. Cool. Last album, Circles, was a little bit more on the alternative side, and, in a little bit of all the elements of our styles and flavors. But this one, it's just kind of rock, you know what I mean?
Yeah, hell yeah.
So, but I dig it. I think it's kind of what the album that we needed, Not everybody gets all the different flavors and styles and the soulfulness of P.O.D., you know what I mean? And sometimes, I compare it to, I don't eat McDonald's, but they're the number one food chain for a reason, right? People, they know what they get, they know what to expect. I'm more of a foodie, so I like a great burger, you know what I mean? Or maybe a steak.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
But people love their McDonald's, so sometimes you just kind of give them what they want.
Yeah, I have a toddler, so I'm at McDonald's a lot, but I try not to ever order anything, Like, I'll get him his nuggies, and then I gotta go home and make a salad or something.
You can't deny that the toddler has nuggies, dude.
Dude, oh man, it's like 99% of his diet. That and goldfish, That's all he gets into.
100%. You just you gotta make sure that they try other stuff though, or they'll eat nuggets for the rest of their life.
Well, he was so much more adventurous when he was a baby. I give him like beans and like chickpeas and stuff, and now he's like, "No, man, it's gotta be Doritos." Like,
bro, don't stop. They'll be adults and only eat nuggets and mac and cheese. Dude.
Exactly. How do you stay healthy and like just overall well on the road like that? Because obviously it's kind of hard probably to get like gourmet burgers and steaks when you're traveling so much, Like, do you pack a lot? Do you do meal prep or anything like that when you're on the road?
No, I think I do better on the road just because being that I am a foodie, I don't like all the crappy, bar food or you know what I mean, or like whatever's easy and accessible. So then I tend to just kind of get stuff on the bus, and we do our own thing, but you're still learning. I mean, the older you
Yeah.
get, you're just it's harder now. I try not to eat a lot, or I can't eat a lot
Yeah.
of stuff I did back in the day, and and I think being on the road and playing 5 nights a week, I mean that definitely helps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, I would imagine, like, especially like, because your job is pretty physical, so you don't want to go up on stage after just smashing a fucking gross
Oh no way!
burrito or something.
I can't, bro. Like I literally, not that not eating is healthy for either, but I have to eat early in the morning and something a little lighter, and then because there's no way I can eat that heavy before we play. I'm just
Yeah.
worried that I throw up.
Yeah, it's funny. We were both at incarceration a couple weeks ago, and I was like the first 2 days I was just eating at the food stands, eating like tacos and like whatever they had. And on the third day, somebody's like, "Have you been over catering yet today?" I'm like, "What catering?" It's like, "There's catering." I'm like, "There's catering." Like, I went over there was like braised rib or something. I'm like, "What the hell?"
Yeah,
It's been here
right,
all
right.
weekend.
You got to take advantage of those
Oh,
spots.
yeah.
They always have something green or a salad, but
Dude.
funny, man, because we were talking about incarceration when we were there, and surprisingly, the catering was pretty good.
It was on point, man. I had like a cane on the third day. I wish I knew about it.
Even eating
Dude.
corn dogs and all
Yeah.
this other crap.
All nasty. Man, speaking of, I don't know how, but I snuck my way up on the side stage for your set at incarceration, and
Oh,
it was
nice.
just so epic. Your crowd was so into it, man, and like it just made me like the nostalgia bug just got all up inside my bones, and I was just like, "Youth of the Nation," just going crazy, dude. It was so cool. Like your crowd was great. Has like the recent resurgence of like new metal and like just overall like that 2000 sound like that is really becoming popular again, has that kind of like changed your crowd? Like have you noticed a difference at shows and like either the size or the energy or anything like that?
Not yet. I mean, I'm guessing that it's gonna change. Just because this kind of, like you said, this resurgence and this hype. But incarceration was an incarceration crowd. You know what I mean? But I think it's different, man, because we still see ourselves as these young kids, and we want to see the pit huge, and we want to go nuts. But we're older, just like our crowd, and so we can't always expect them to go nuts. You know what I mean? But
Right.
so even like some of the places we play, we're learning that our crowd might not even want to hit those rock and roll venues anymore. They like the big stuff. So even though it still goes nuts and stuff when we play some of the smaller venues, P.O.D. it's undeniably has radio hits. You know what I mean? It's not that we ever thought that was going to happen, but it's true. We play around the world, and you play your radio tunes, and people know it. Especially Alive and Youth of the Nation and songs like that. And so you get in front of these bigger crowds, and I think a lot of people are still like, "Oh, I know this band."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So for the younger kids anyway are like, "Oh, dude, I love this band." My parents used to play this song all the time.
Right.
Stuff like that. We just happen to be those older guys now. But then, there's the older crowd like us that, they don't want to get stuck in the pit. They don't want to get smashed up against the barricade or kicked in the head with a steel-toe boot. So
Right.
they're in the back, having their beer or whatever, and just singing along, and enjoying the rock show. So, but hopefully, with the new hype, things might change a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what age it was that I stopped going in the pit and just started hanging out by the back at the bar with my beer. There was definitely a shift at some point in my concert-going career that I was like, you know what? I don't want to get hit in the nose tonight. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah, man. I totally understand that.
yeah. What in that respect, like, what was it like being a part of that like whole new metal boom that happened? Like, did you guys see it coming? Like, did you see it bubbling, or was it just like a kind of like an overnight thing that exploded for you?
I mean, not for us, because we were more underground than most of those bands that are accredited for that era. You know what I mean? So by that time, because it already we've been called rapcore, hardcore, hip hop, whatever. There's so many different names, and then when new metal came out, it stuck. So it was never like we embraced that name.
Yeah.
It was just like, cool, whatever. Make up your mind. Call it what you want. You know what I mean? But at that point, I mean, be honest, it was already old to us. We
Right.
had been doing this since '92. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? and P.O.D is one of the pioneers of this sound, even though we don't get that credit. But it's like when you do your research, you see that it started with bands like P.O.D, Downset. You know what I mean? There was a band that we looked up to here in San Diego, and they were called House of Suffering, and they were a kind of a they were a straight edge band, and they were their music was awesome, but then at one point in their career they tried to do the rap thing, and with the homie named Daryl Blunt, and it was like we would watch them and we're like, this is what's up. Yeah. Like this is our style, this is what we know. But it was you saw it back in the day when they did the collabs like Run DMC and Run DMC and Aerosmith, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or what was it, Anthrax and Public Enemy. So those were always little glimpses. Or I think Blondie, there's that old Blondie track with Fab Five Freddy, and she's rapping. So it's not people just didn't consider like it a rap. They thought oh, that's
it was more like a one-off thing back then too. It's kind of like it was like novelty when it happened. Yeah. Right,
but when you start to look at that stuff, you're like, no, they were onto something, because she was taking the streets of New York and mixing it with what her rock and roll. And so there was always these artists that were trying. They were trying. They were doing something. But we didn't catch on to that. I mean, a few did. So when we started, and not only that, I mentioned House of Suffering. Zach from Rage Against the Machine, he was in a band called Inside Out, a hardcore band. And he would come to San Diego all the time and watch House of Suffering, and then before you knew it, he was in a band called Rage Against the Machine, where he was rapping, and it was like, so
that's
when we caught on. When we caught on the Rage Against the Machine, we were like, oh, we know homeboy from Inside Out, but he's doing something different, and it's sick. We were instant, Rage Against the Machine fans, but we also knew his, and we also knew bands like Downset from LA that were kind of already messing around with this style. So. But then once bands came in and kind of started to mimic it, I think that's when they got this new metal kind of genre. And then not only that, I think it got oversaturated with guys that it wasn't their lifestyle. You know what I mean? It wasn't their culture. When you get bands from like whatever, Timbuktu, and all of a sudden they're acting like they're from the streets, and they're they're looking like they're from the streets, and they're
trying to ride the hype,
trying to rap, and it's like, dude, it's not quite there. But it became a genre. And what happens when it comes popular? People start to get it, and I think people got over it after a while, and so they, hopefully it'll get its due time, or the right time. I think it kind of came and gone, and people threw it away because of the artists that were doing it. We're trying to copy it, instead of looking to the authenticity of it and saying, oh, dude, this is sick. I love this.
Yeah, there is like that resurgence happening right now a little bit, especially like due to like TikTok and Gen Z, and like obviously like, Sick New World Festival, that was huge. Like that had, I feel like, just like a 90s 2000 fever dream for you, like a big family reunion. But then like
it was amazing.
Then like this article just dropped the other day from the New York Times. It was all about like Gen Z is responsible for the new metal revival. I'm like, oh no, because once sites like New York Times start writing about it, it's like, no, it's not gonna be cool again. It's not gonna be cool.
Yeah.
You can't point at it. You can't talk about it. You just gotta let it be cool. You can't talk about it being cool, because then it's not gonna be cool anymore.
True, bro.
I'm like, you guys are gonna fucking ruin it, man.
Just let it happen. Let it happen.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because like, I don't know, I never really like considered you guys new metal. Like, I just considered you like a great rock band, and then like it was like, I think it's just because the era that it was kind of like you guys came out in and really grew in popularity. And then like retroactively, you guys definitely get lumped into the new metal thing. But like for me growing up, like I just always consider you guys a really great rock band that had like like rap parts and stuff. But and then now as I look back, I'm like, oh yeah, it's definitely, because you were definitely with all the other bands that were coming up at that time too. They were you were putting all those festivals and stuff. Was Sick New World like? Did it feel like kind of like a family reunion, or like some kind of like just big gathering when you guys were all together?
Most definitely, man. But this, bro, you still deal with like egos and people. You still deal with people that they've been in the game for a long time, and there's those that you're close to and people that you see, and then there's other bands that just think whatever. And so it's like I've never tried to be a part of a new scene or a new clique, and so I don't need it. It's another great show for me. You know, it's another another day to be grateful that there's actually people that care to listen to your band. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, you know, when the guys like myself and you've been in this game long enough, whatever, you just kind of got to figure out what kind of band and what kind of person you're going to be. You know what I mean? But I definitely I watched all of my, you know, favorite bands that I hadn't seen in a while, or I just love their music in general. So it was great. I kind of approached it as just a fan myself, you know. And there were some newer bands, and I mean, I love Turnstile. I mean, I think everybody loves Turnstile at this point. And you know, so to be able to kind of cruise and see them, and you know, and then a lot of the bands we play with a lot, so you get to see them. But then there's still, you know, I hadn't seen Incubus in a while though, you know. So I'm there, and bands like Soulfly, I'm like, okay, got to check them out.
Oh yeah.
So it was a good time, man.
You guys had to have toured with Soulfly back in the day, right? Like, I feel like that would have been a perfect combo.
Yeah, I think we always wanted to. We think we just did a bunch of shows, but I don't think it was a solid tour. But you know, funny enough, we see all the guys again, and you know, then you start talking. You're like, why don't we do a tour, man? Like this, you know. For us, it's like for P.O.D. In our mind, we're like, what if we got these bands like this that we actually enjoy? That, you know, there was this new era back then, anyway, of this style of music, and like the fans would want that, but then that might be too underground now for most concert goers.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you take all these bands, like for me, it would be those bands. It would be, you know, the Soulflies of the world. You know, like I said, Downset, or some of these more heavier bands. But is that gonna pack out? You know,
right?
Some of the are those underground bands gonna pack out, you know, whatever, a 5,000, 8,000 seaters? Like I don't think so. It's more of the mainstream bands that are packing out these arenas. You know what I mean? So either way, I think we would love to do it, but at the same time, you have all these big promoters that are like, hey, I love those bands too, but that package might not do that well. It's like, so you're never gonna have the packages that you think the underground wants to see. You have to go for the mainstream, you know.
Yeah, like they're gonna want P.O.D. and Limp Bizkit or something, as opposed to P.O.D. and
Downset, which I'm totally down. But it takes somebody like a Limp Bizkit that says, hey, I want to throw these great bands on here, you know, and someone with like Limp Bizkit that has that kind of pull. Yeah. If P.O.D. just does it, it's just another underground punk rock show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
See, I always it's weird because I always felt like you guys were on the same level as Limp Bizkit. Like in my eyes, like you guys were, because you were so massive. Like when Youth of the Nation dropped and Satellite and Live, like all of the songs were just like you said, they were radio hits, man. Like they were everywhere. You guys were like like sports commercials and shit. Like, it was everywhere, man.
For sure, man. It's just, I mean, it's all a business thing, and it's like, you know, again, networking thing. We're just not those guys. We go up and play. You know what I mean? I don't associate with Hollywood. I'm not in those worlds. You know what I mean? And then, but not only that, bro, we're a band with a lot of different spices in every area. You know, whether it's culturally, or whether it's, you know, ethnicity, whether it's, you know, our faith background. There's a lot of things to us that aren't considered rock and roll. So, you know, that's just what it is. It's kind of like I mentioned earlier with the McDonald's thing.
Yeah. Do you feel like that has like held you back a little bit as far as like, you know, being? I mean, I know that you stayed before, like you believe in God, you're a follower of Christ and stuff, but you don't really consider yourself a religious person, right? Like, or you don't?
Yeah. I think religion is man-made. Right.
So, but do you feel like just even being a follower like that, do you think that's held you guys back in some aspects of your career, like not being a part of like the cool kids table sometimes or something?
Yeah, always. Well, 100%. I mean, we've been a part of the cool kids table, but you know, but mainstream is a different thing, you know, and people always want to lump you into that, you know, those Christians, you know, westernized Christian type of stuff, and kind of keep you down in that way. But you know, you just kind of take it for what it is. It's just it's always been that way. Plus, but I mean, it's not offensive. We say the same things that maybe like, a Bob Marley would say, you know what I mean, or even like a Santana would say, or a lot of these positive-minded, love first kind of thinking bands would say, but they're not as intimidating because they're not behind, 4 stacks of, Mesa Boogie, and you know what I mean, and then and a guy screaming on the microphone. It's not as intimidating. So people want their pre-ordered way of thinking, and that's fine, But I don't think it's and at one point we decided to kind of pull back from the mainstream and not be told what kind of band we're supposed to be, and when you do that, it comes at a cost, because once you're not following the rules of the label and all that stuff, and you just want to be your own band, you cut the funding, you cut everything, you cut the promotion, you cut all that stuff because you're not being the band that they want you to be. And so that came with the cost, but we don't regret that. We're still the band that we want to be.
So did you ever feel pressure either side to like form you into like, hey, you're going to be, let's make you the next Creed. Let's really lean into the Christian thing, or the other way, like, can we drop the Christian stuff? Can we mold you into Korn? Like, did you ever feel pressure on either side from like labels and stuff?
Not that. I mean, the labels didn't even care. I mean, once we signed, they didn't care about our faith. I mean, I don't think they were our number one supporters, but the moment we sold 1 million records, they didn't care anymore.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? All they care about is money. So the moment we sold 1 million records, and we didn't even consider ourselves a Christian band, but if they thought that we were, the moment we sold 1 million records and made them a ton of money, we're the first people that they come to and say, hey, what other bands are like you guys?
Yeah.
And it's not like you were trying to promote the message. You were trying to make money. So instantly, as soon as P.O.D. broke down those Christian walls or whatever, then it allowed, bands with similar faith or like-minded bands to come out, whether it was, they signed with us Blindside and Project 86, and then, the Under Oaths of the world, and the As I Lay Dyings and Devil Wears Prada, all these solid state bands and Tooth and Nail bands, you know what I mean, that were known on a Christian label. Hey, don't mess with that. But then the moment P.O.D. sells 1 million records, let's sign Skillet. Let's sign all these bands, and that's cool. Like, I believe they should be judged by their music and not, they have a different faith than us. It's like, but this is rock and roll, so they tend to want to keep to the hype of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But all of a sudden it's selling and they don't care anymore.
Do you like think there was a moment where you can pinpoint where you did start to pull back, though, where you said like you kind of wanted to like pull back from like the almost like the fame and like the aspect of like not trying to be just trying to be who you are? Do you think there was like a moment where you kind of felt yourself going in an opposite direction?
I mean, I think for me, once you kind of hit that peak, and then here you are just trying to navigate through what we know as rock and roll. And then, when you start to see it take its kind of, it starts to get its grips on you, then you're like, hey, for me personally, it's like, hey, maybe I need to pull back, and maybe I'm not the guy that I planned on being or I want to be, you know what I mean? Because you just fall into this category of rock and roll. And so all of a sudden, like I said, I'm not a Hollywood person, but all of a sudden rock and roll is done out of Hollywood. You got to be in LA every other this and that. You got to go to this and that. You got to network with these people, and you got to schmooze and kiss butt over here. And all of a sudden you're like, I don't know if I want this.
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, all the different temptations. There's a lot of things that come with it. And then you're like, you just really kind of have to sit back and say, is it worth it? Do I want all this stuff? Am I strong enough to be in this game, in this world? When my ultimate goal is to love God first and love my wife and my kids, and make sure that they're raised in a way that's not Hollywood, straight up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not rock and roll. So you got to kind of weigh all those things out, man. So I think at some point I did pull away, and that might have, it might have quieted the band for a little bit too. But I wasn't
probably did
willing
well
to
for your
risk
mental
it.
health, though, I bet.
Oh, 100%, bro. You have to fall back on the things that you know are good and true, you know. So now we just kind of we love playing the shows. We love making music still. But we're just coasting through it, and luckily we have a fan base that still appreciates what we do, you know.
So I don't want to harp too much on the old stuff, but I was reading about Satellite. I didn't even know this happened. You guys dropped this on 9/11, right? The day 9/11 happened. What was that like? Because I know as an artist, like, you're putting your art out to the world, you're super excited about it, like you're dropping a new album, you're like, oh man, I can't wait. And then that national like catastrophe happened.
Yeah.
Like, was there any way for you even to like, any possible way to enjoy the release or promote it or anything like at that point? Like, how do you even like how do you even navigate that?
Bro, we didn't even as excited as we were, the hype that we had, all this stuff. Bro, when we turned on those TVs, it didn't matter anymore. You know, all that mattered was you know, people. All that mattered was, you know, Americans, New York, America. That's to us. It was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? But yeah, even when you look, like all the promos before, you know, it was stickers, all the merch that we put out, you know, was like new release, and you see it. You know, 9/11, it's or excuse me, 01. You see that on there, you know, and so we were excited, but we had even at the time, you know, when they sold records in record stores, we were actually in San Diego the night before at midnight, pre-selling on a Monday night, pre-selling the record and doing a signing, and it was packed, and we were there all the way till, you know, whatever, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. And planning on doing a CD release show at, I think it was the Roxy or the Whiskey up in Hollywood that day. But, you know, in the morning, here we are dead tired, and we get a call saying, turn on the TV. You know, we turn on the TV, and everything just stopped at that point. And then oddly enough, we had just played for TRL, I want to say 3 days prior at Battery Park. And so we played for TRL in Battery Park, and as we're leaving Battery Park to go back to our hotel, we have one of our, you know, old friends, Matty Matt, rest in peace, New York hustler, and he was like, hey, there's the Twin Towers, and he's giving us the whole tourist thing, and we're like, wow, that's amazing, that's crazy. And then like I said, 2 or 3 days later, we're on TV just in shock, and we're like, this is insane. Was press still trying to like do interviews with you guys or anything like that at that point, or was it just completely shut down? No, everything shut down. We actually had a bunch of label reps from New York and Atlantic Records who were staying in San Diego with us and helping us promote the record. So they couldn't even fly home for like 2 weeks. So they ended up staying in San Diego and then staying with, you know, us and our families. And my grandmother would cook every day, and you know, we would just sit in the den. Nice. I mean, we tried to make it as sweet as possible for them, because, you know, they're calling home and they're trying to figure out whatever. So we literally sat by the TV in the den all day long and just waiting for them to be able to fly back home. But the first time that we were able to do press was we had actually gotten a call from TRL, and they were saying that they were going to do their first show, and they wanted people to call in. So I think the only ones they had call in was me, Lenny Kravitz, and I want to say maybe Enrique Iglesias, because at the time he had a song called Hero. We had a song called Alive. So it was a
nice little class to be in.
Yeah, and you know, at that time they didn't care about, you know, no disrespect to Slipknot, they didn't care about the Slipknots of the world. They didn't care about the, you know, the bands that were saying F the world and you know, everything sucks. They weren't saying that, you know, or they weren't wanting that. So they were highlighting on the bands that were a little bit more positive. So and for us, that was a good thing. It was like, hey, at least you see our music as some type of healing and some type of like positive message. And not only that, they had banned a lot of bands and took a lot of songs off the radio, you know, that had a word in it, you know, and or something like that, or maybe that mentioned, you know, anything that was even remotely close to 9/11 explosion, terrorist. You know, people was looking for an answer at that time, and that we were grateful that they considered P.O.D. one of those bands.
Yeah, I did a video about that. I think they took like 500 songs off the radio, or they didn't take them off, but they encouraged radio stations like not to play them, like Clear Channel did.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, there was so many songs that like had nothing to do with it. I mean, obviously the songs like, you know, Toxicity and stuff, like System of a Down, the songs that like sound way worse than they really are. Those made more sense. But like stuff like I mean, I can't remember. Oh, Jumper by Third Eye Blind, you know, like stuff like that. It's like, that's not about what that. Come on, you know. But you like you said, anything that even had a word, the kind or any kind of negativity at all, any negativity. So I mean,
and nothing intentional of those bands. It was just, you know, I think there was a rap hip hop group at the time called the Clip or something like that, and they had the World Trade Center in the back on fire, and they're from New York though. You know, it's just art. It's like saying, you know, this is what represents New York, and we're burning it down. You know, like whatever. Right. But they made them cut that. I think there was a lyric in B.I.G., you know, I blow up like the World Trade, that was done years and years before that. Right. But you can't play that anymore. You know what I mean? It's kind of like today, cancel culture. You know what I mean? You're going back 30 years of comedy, 30 years of artwork, and saying you can't do that anymore. And it's like, whatever, dude.
It's terrible if you have to dig up a tweet from 10 years ago when somebody was a shitty person. If you have to go back that far to find something shitty they said, like maybe they're not that bad of a person, you know? They said something shitty 10 years ago in a tweet, like come on. Like,
if that's the case, we're all screwed. There's no hope for any of us, you know what I mean?
God, it's especially because we all, like, when social media was first around, like we would post things on Facebook or MySpace. Like it was just like, it was funny. It was, and especially if you're a young kid, you're in high school or whatever. It's like, you don't think this is gonna be around in like 30 years.
Now you gotta teach your kids, don't
dude, I know.
Don't be
like
posting anything.
I'm so scared of my kid being on whatever, like X.com, where their social media is gonna be when he's like a teenager. Like, ugh. Like
all he eats is chicken nuggets.
I know. Well, that's what's crazy. Like conversations like this will, I mean, hopefully, knock on wood, will live on for like 30 years, and my kid's gonna be like, "Hey, why were you talking shit about me eating chicken nuggets?" Like,
no, I know. You're gonna have some group come out and protest. You know.
Yeah.
Anti-chicken nuggets. You know.
Right. Yeah. It's gonna be like, I can't believe you fed your kid processed chicken nuggets.
Yeah. Don't you love your kid?
Right. So I mean, does it piss you off like when like the media and press out and people like me, a-holes like me, like get the story like wrong, like the narrative wrong about P.O.D. ever? Like, does that ever like kind of drive you crazy? Like you read like a review, like you're like, that's not what the song's about, or that's not what I meant in that interview. Like,
right? It's frustrating because normally it's done when there's already an agenda. It wasn't like a misunderstanding, you know.
They're planning on calling you out.
We've seen it before. Like I remember we did I think it was some magazine over in Europe, and the guy came in and we took him out to eat. We sat down the whole night, and he asked us he started asking us questions, and then we knew right then, we're like, we still answered them completely in love and empathy and all the, you know, just with a pure heart, but it was, you were going overboard. And I remember us saying at one point too, like, what does this have to do with rock and roll? Because he started digging into, you know, just everything you could imagine, everything controversial, right?
Oh, he was just trying to get a soundbite from you.
Exactly, bro. And then, you know, the moment, you know, the article comes out, it's like it became more of a tabloid type of, you know, Inquirer type of magazine. It's like, wait till you hear what P.O.D. says about, you know, homosexuals and Britney Spears and wait till you know, and everything, whatever at that moment was a hot item, a hot buzzword.
Topic,
and it was like, so we would always make a joke after that. Whenever we would sit down with the interview, we'd say, hey, before we start the interview, we're gonna need to see your license. and then they'd say, what for? So we could take a picture. And then, what for? Well, because if you know, when you write an article that you purposely try to shame us or discredit us, and then we know where you live.
Yeah, we can pay you a visit. We can talk about it. We can
bring
recap.
You some flowers. We can bring you some flowers, you know.
That's good. That's good, man. I'm sure you had a bunch of reporters shaking a little bit after that.
Oh,
They started crossing out questions like, you know what?
Yeah. This is like, well, I only have one question. What does P.O.D stand for?
I remember because obviously you guys had that. What P.O.D stand?
Idiot.
Yeah, because obviously you guys had that big song with Katy Perry, "Goodbye for Now," and it was before she was famous. And I remember like that, like this article started coming out like I don't know, maybe a year ago. I mean, it comes up like every few years. I feel like people like remember it, but like people were saying like, oh, they were trying to say that you were calling her a backup singer or something in the video. And I remember you guys made a video about it. Like, guys, she was not a backup singer. Like, she was a great friend of ours that was in the studio with, like, you guys had to clarify, like, this is not, again, the narrative trying to be transformed into, like, oh, Sonny thought Katy Perry was just a backup singer, you know?
That's ridiculous, man. They just want to, I mean, again, that's what I'm saying. Those are the kind of people that are always, for some reason, it's crazy. They just have it out for P.O.D. And it's not about P.O.D. Again, it's people that have it out with faith in general or Christianity in general, and so they lump us up with every other hypocritical freaking weirdo, cult weirdo, and they say, well, that's what P.O.D. believes in. It's like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Just come to my neighborhood, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
Come to a barbecue. Let's hang out. Like,
yeah. Like, I this is my faith because it's real to me. If you can't get with it or you don't want to mess with it, then dude, kick rocks. I love you regardless, but don't try to lump me into your religious strict household that you grew up in, because that's not me. I'm free. So, but or whatever whatever church you went to that you were forced to go to, like, that's not me. I'm not in your category. But there are people with agendas, and unfortunately, it gets old after a while. Because you spend 1 minute with me, homie, you're gonna know who I am.
No, yeah. You're not like pushing anybody like to do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, can't change nobody.
When I was looking at that, it's on Setlist FM. It says you guys have only played that song "Goodbye for Now" like 8 times in the history. Is that right?
There was one tour that I want to say we were rocking. It had to have been more than that. I don't even think
I feel like that number had to be crazy low.
Yeah, we're so lazy at even putting even listing all that stuff. We're so bad at it, but. There was one tour I definitely think we were rocking, and I'm sure it was probably around, album release time and stuff. And but it's a great song. I mean, it's crazy. You can go anywhere, and people are like, "Why don't you play Goodbye for Now?" And it's like, in our minds, we're like, I don't know. This was a metal festival. You know what I mean? You have Slayer and Slipknot headlining. I didn't know you wanted to hear Goodbye for Now. Here we are trying to play our most hardest and brutal songs that we have, and we're not even comparing to the headliners, you know what I mean? Because it's a metal fest. But that's why I would love to be on non-metal rock tours and play with, reggae bands and bands that actually are just more kind of middle of the road. Yeah. And then we can play a lot of those songs, you know what I mean? That aren't, we don't have to be heavy all the time,
Yeah, that'd be really cool, especially if you guys were on some kind of like more of a mainstream festival, and like Katy Perry happened to be playing, and then you guys could like do that song live together. Like,
that would be amazing. Yeah, it'd be totally amazing, man. And
that'd be newsworthy.
And if Katy Perry even remembers who we are at this time, so who are we to say she was a backup singer? Right. She's got to deal with her pop diva culture now. You know what I mean? P.O.D. is still too underground. She might not even remember us.
When's the last time you even talked to her? Back in when you guys recorded the song?
No, I think it's been so long. I think it might have even been at a Korn album release. They played the Hollywood Cemetery, but she wasn't even Katy Perry at that point. She was still hustling, and she was always hustling in Hollywood. But it was Katy Perry who actually tweeted a few years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago. I think she's the one that tweeted something about P.O.D. and it was like,
oh, nice,
that's awesome, man. And that's what I think might have sparked it up, where people were like, what is her relationship with P.O.D.? And it's like, they find out, and she was just up and coming, trying to make it in Hollywood, and she would hang around the studio, and we loved her instantly, and we thought she was mad talented, and she is mad talented. She's awesome.
Yeah,
She
yeah, no
was
doubt about that.
she's punk rock. Most people just don't know that she's punk rock, you know.
Yeah, because she was on Warped Tour, I think, right? Like
Yeah,
before she
when you
became
listen to
who
all
she
that
was.
stuff,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Warped Tour, playing her own guitar, she was more of this kind of punk rock, you know, like, and we have, you know, when she was in the studio, we have video footage of her just being a goofball, and she is a goofball, but you know, once you become a pop icon and pop diva, it's like what we said earlier, it's like they don't want you to be punk rock anymore. They don't want you to be seen without your makeup. They don't want you to have real emotions. They want you to read the script
Mm-hmm.
and be who they want because, you know, we're making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, we got to think about that.
So you have everybody telling you who you are, and as much as I would love Katy Perry money to put my kids through college, I wouldn't want Katy Perry stress and anxiety
Oh God.
and emotional roller coaster, you know. And God bless her.
Well, as big as Katy Perry is, I don't think there's a Katy Perry day in San Diego, like there's a Sonny Sandoval day. That is amazing. Are you the first like new metal icon to have his own day? Like that is unbelievable.
I would think so, but it's not going to last long. Once people found out that they gave me a day, you're going to have there's going to be a Jonathan Davis day, and there's going to be a Chino Moreno day, a Zach De La Rocha day.
Right.
It's going to be all this stuff, dude. You know what I mean?
How do they celebrate? Do they just like blast P.O.D. throughout the city of speakers, or
No,
everyone
that
wears
would
like a
be
flat
awesome.
brim hat for a day? Like,
Now, that would be awesome. No, I didn't even know, bro. It was actually, you know, I was actually throwing a fundraiser for one of my best friends that I grew up with. His wife is sick, and so we kind of did this, you know, fundraiser. Online I said, hey, for my 50th birthday, you know, please consider donating. I'm trying to raise, you know, 50 grand, and please donate, and for my birthday. And so we had kind of this campaign, and then we finished it off with this little small intimate, you know, 500 600 gathering in San Diego outdoors. The sun's finally out, and you know, we have art, we have giveaways, we have all kinds of stuff. And so when him and my other buddy Paco, they ended up coming on stage, and I thought they were just going to thank the crowd for showing up, and then all of a sudden they said, hey, you know, we want to present Sonny Sandoval with his own day, you know,
That's
by the
so
city
cool.
of San Diego, the county of San Diego. And I bawled like a baby, bro. I was just, I didn't even know that was possible. It's not like in my mind, oh yeah, someday I'm going to have a Sonny Sandoval day. I didn't even know that was possible.
right.
And how would you go about doing that? But my buddy, I think he presented it to the city, and he just said, what are the chances? And they're like, heck yeah, we'll do that.
That's amazing, dude.
So I'm
That's
still
so
kind
cool.
of blown away by it. Yeah. But
Well, I mean, because like everybody, like no matter what, how big you get around the world, everyone like wants to come home and feel like they're home, you know. And I don't feel any other. I don't think there's any other way to feel more at home than like them having a whole day named after you,
man,
you know.
it's incredible, bro. But you know, I mean, look at the history of our band. Look at the lyrics. Listen to the songs. There's nobody that comes from San Diego that represents more than P.O.D. We are born and bred. This is our lifestyle, you know. And there's bands that, you know, on their resume it says they're from San Diego, but they're not from San Diego. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like we're from San Diego,
Right.
and so and you hear it in our music, and you hear it's a culture, it's a lifestyle, and so we love this city. So it's a complete honor.
And then on top of all that, obviously all the, you know, the philanthropic, I always stuck at saying that word. You know, that full-on stuff. Yeah, you know, you got the Whosevers movement, and then the Youth of the Nation Foundation. Like, you tell me a little bit about those?
I mean, the Whosevers just started more as a brotherhood of just accountability, and you know, there was, you know, people like Brian Head Welch and my buddy Ryan Reese and Lacey from Flyleaf and guys from Metal Militia, and it was like we were all, you know, believers in Jesus, but it was like, but we're also part of the real world, you know what I mean? And so we were just, it was just a way for us to just, we're not in that Christian bubble, and we don't speak Christianese either, you know what I mean? So, you know, most people think because you believe in Jesus that they just lump you into this thing, and I'm like, dude, I have more problems with the church than most people. I have more problems with Christians than most people. I have more problem with the way people act than most people. and so I just needed to be around people that get it, and we were just lifting each other up and holding each other accountable. And then all of a sudden, we started being asked to go into the school systems, into detention centers, and rehabs and all this stuff. And it wasn't preaching; it was just saying, "Hey, man." And because we're in a rock band, they're probably gonna more likely to give us 2 more minutes of their time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it was just like, "Hey, man, my name's Sonny. I love you. I love God. This is how the Lord changed my life. And just because you're in prison, or just because you're in rehab, doesn't mean that this is the end of your story." It's like it was us just trying to love on people, and that's how it started. And then the foundation was just more of a work here in San Diego for young people, and it's a work in progress. I'm just getting it going. I just jumped on the YMCA board that's in my neighborhood that I grew up in, and kind of partnered up with the YMCA and just helping out there and just trying to be a part of my community as much as I can.
It'd be so wild to be at a YMCA meeting and Sonny from P.O.D. is just I'm like,
those kids are so young, they don't even know until like their parent comes to pick them up, and they're like, that guy is, dude, he's in a band, and they show them a P.O.D. song on the way home, and then they come back the next day like, dude, my dad just totally played all your songs for me, like I know who you are. The funny thing is we did it was I think it was in Arkansas, bro, and we went to this detention center, all these kids, and it was they were all locked up. And bro, they listen to you, but everybody's got to be so hard, and the straight
can't
faced,
let their guard down.
Can't let their guard down. And so we do our thing, we share with them, we love on them, and then we got to hang in the rec room afterwards. And then one of the security guards, he puts on his laptop, and I think he throws on Youth of the Nation and like a video, and then he shows the kid, and again, young kid, he's probably like 13 years old. The moment he turns on the video, he sees like something about over 100 million views. That's all he cared about.
Oh,
so
yeah.
He literally
social
plugs
proof.
into the TV, and he's telling everybody, yo, check this out. This is homeboy. This is dude right here.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's got over 100 million views, and that's all. And I was like, I looked at him like, don't you want to like hear the song, or like?
Yeah.
And I just joking with him like, don't you want to watch it? Kind of see what you get from it. And he's like, he was just so excited that it had that many views, and instantly, we spent the whole rec room time, and they're just Googling P.O.D. stuff, and they're watching, and then they started to like, what a trip, what a trip, and then they'd see live shows like, you play in front of that many people, and they were just like, then it caught their attention, and they started to loosen up and kind of let their guard down, and so it's wild, man.
It is insane how like the social media like currency is like so real with like younger people, like especially like I have lots of people that will like not even listen to this kind of music, because I talk about a lot of rock and metal, like it's mostly like my area, and I have a lot of people like don't listen to that music, but they're just impressed that I have like 500,000 followers, like, oh my god, that's so cool, like it's like, but you don't really care what I'm talking about, like why is that a big deal?
Yeah, you just cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry, man.
No, not you. You gotta love the internet, so I just want to make sure I can see you.
Nah, I'm just so happy we've had this long of a conversation without completely cut out.
Yeah, it's but I guess that's kind of just goes back to, you're just kind of hopefully using your influence, and even if these young kids don't know who you are, they can look in the past 30-something years of your life and say, hey man, this guy's all right, and then then when they know, especially when I go into detention centers and stuff like that, I'm going there and I'm telling these kids, bro, I don't get paid to be here. I got on a plane to come here, and I'm spending a week visiting all these places, whether it's homeless shelters and teen centers. It's to tell you that you're loved, that you're worth it, that you're not defined by your mistakes. You know what I mean? And there's hope for you, and so. It's like I could be doing a million different other things, and God knows I take enough time away from my own family personally to do these things, and I don't call them charity. They're not charity. It's just my heart desires to see that these kids have the same chance that everybody else does, and sometimes some of us are just we're just born into a life that has a harder road, and that's okay. We're not victims, you know what I mean? But you have to recognize that the road is harder, and so you just have to be just as hard, you know.
I love that. The road is hard, but you gotta be harder, man. Do that.
Yeah.
That's just so cool though, because I mean, there's so many like jaded ass rock stars out there that like don't even like take care of themselves, much less anybody around them. Man, I just love that you're out there doing that. Like it's very admirable. You know, as a dad myself,
Thanks,
you know, I firmly believe that kids needed direction. They need molded. You know, they need at least they 100%. Need something to look up to. Man, I'm glad you're there for those kids that don't have it right now. Man, that's really cool.
Thanks, brother. That means everything.
Do you have like a kind of like a timeline or a map for this foundation where you see it going, or you're just kind of like just in the motions now? And
it's been a few years, but you know, COVID. We started right at COVID, but then once that happened, because the whole goal was to, you know, I want to have a building. I want to, you know, I want it to be like the YMCA, but not athletic or, you know, sports driven. It was more creative arts and have a place for these kids. You know, not every kid could slam dunk. You know what I mean? Not every kid could hit a home run. So it's like, but
no,
you know, but you give this kid a guitar, or you know, put a pair of drumsticks in his hands, or give him, you know, some paints and a canvas. It's, you know, or throw them on a computer with computer graphics. It's just different, but it was going to be geared more towards mentorship and you know, and actually academics first, but then you would have this place to go to that you can explore all these different things, and so that kind of that wasn't possible because of COVID. You know, when people were afraid to go and, you know, you couldn't leave your homes anymore. So we're just getting started, and I think the partnership with YMCA, you know, we're going to create after-school programs and just kind of start slow. But, you know, obviously it's a money thing, you know, and, you know, if somebody came to me and gave me millions of dollars, I can get it done. But until then, I can't. I gotta raise money, $20 at a time, $2 at a time from the people that actually get it, you know. So as we do that, you know, we do small stuff. We're throwing a talent show, you know, we'll do, you know, beach cleanups, you know, we'll do, I'm trying to take a bunch of kids down to Honduras where we build a well for the kids out there in the school, and, you know, there's houses we can build in Mexico, but it's just getting the community and the young kids involved, because once they actually do something that is of value, then they know their value. You know, when you go to Mexico and you build a house for, you know, for a single mom and her three babies, then you're like, okay, my life in the hood here it's not the best, but I got running water. You know what I mean? I got a bed to sleep on. So you know, you start to see, dude, I can change the world. I can do something. So it's just being involved in these kids' life. But until then, we just do it, you know, one kid at a time. But if anybody out there is listening and you want to give up some of your hard-earned money to help these kids, we'll change the whole community's life.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it feels good to do good. That's no doubt about that.
100%.
Probably no feeling like that.
Yeah.
Well, I know you got a lot going on, man. I know there's probably a kitten that needs rescued from a tree at some point that you got to go attend to, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. Do you want to do a quick, fast round with me? Just some quick-fire questions?
Yeah,
just some random shit that I need to know about Sonny. All right, cool. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No.
Nah. Is cheesecake pie or cake?
Pie. No. Cake.
I like that. You're like, no, I don't want to commit to that.
We gotta think about this.
Do you have a comfort show or movie, like something you put on when you just want to turn your brain off, that you've like seen a million times?
Oh, I fall asleep to Everybody Loves Raymond every night if I can't sleep.
Dude.
I just
Classic.
turn it on, and I've seen it a million times, heard it a million times. I just like kind of smiling in my sleep, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good one. If someone was to listen to P.O.D. for the first time, like what song do you think would be a great starter song, a good entry point for the band?
Oh man, I would say Alive, just because they probably heard it, and I would hope that they would dig into some of the more deeper cuts and album cuts, you know.
Cool. You mentioned Turnstile earlier. Were there any other newer bands out there right now that you've been really digging into, or any ones that's been showing up on your playlist more so than others?
I mean, I still try to. I mean, I went the same show. I went and checked out like Spirit Box.
Yeah, they're great.
They killed it. I've actually listened to their record and super impressed. We went on tour with Ginger. I love Tatiana's just her aggressiveness and her voice. She's bomb. I mean, I did a track with Fire from the Gods. Did a track with Islander. I love all those bands, man. But
nice.
But you know, you just got to come original. That's all.
I think a Turnstile P.O.D. collab would be cool. I would love to see that.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you guys can all be in a Taco Bell commercial together. That'd be sweet.
Let's just sell out and go mainstream right now.
How do you feel about this whole era of like AI generated songs with like dead singers and dead musicians? Like, do you feel like weird about it? Are you in favor of it?
I think it's cute when it's cute, but that's a whole nother conversation. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's cute, but I think we just see it as like, oh, another cool app filter and another cool this or that. When you know, we can get in the conversations if, you know, AI is going to take over the world someday. You know,
right?
And that's just too deep for right now.
Gets a little scary. Yeah,
it is scary. And if you're not scared, then yeah.
Oh. Well, yeah. I mean, like even like
not you. If anybody just think, oh, it's just a cool app. It's a cool app. Check it out. It's like, nah, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like we like willingly give over our faces and voices and stuff to these apps, and then all of a sudden, like they create robots out of us, and it's like, well, how did that happen?
Yeah, they can Photoshop anything now. You know.
It's scary, man. All right, one final fun question here. What do you think is the ultimate nu metal song, the one that just defines the era? It could be a P.O.D. song, if you think.
Oh my gosh. See, that's too much pressure. I mean, if I'm thinking of, and again, I don't even put myself in a category. So this is my opinion, whether I'm indifferent. But when I think of like the TRL hype, and then I think of like the visual and the rock and roll side of it and the crazy side of it, I still remember. And again, I didn't know what nu metal was. We didn't call it that. But I remember seeing the Limp Bizkit Nookie video for the first time, and it didn't matter whether I was a Limp Bizkit fan or not. When I saw that, I said, "This is freaking huge! Like, this is huge."
Yeah,
it's just it encompassed everything. It encompassed rock and roll, just freaking rebellion, you know, sex. You know what I mean? It had everything. It was just visually was stunning. It just, you're like, these guys are gonna be freaking huge. And so, you know, and again, I'm not saying that defines nu metal or classifies it, but I remember thinking that whatever this is going on, this song is gonna it's gonna cross over to pop world and all that stuff. Because even though Korn was popular at the time, I never saw them as a pop. They were still dark and mysterious. Limp Bizkit wasn't mysterious. They threw everything out there and said, "I don't care what you think, and you know, if you like me or not." And that's kind of that's what rock and roll it was supposed to be anyway.
I agree, man. Like, I feel like that video dropped, that song came out, like it was almost like that became like the Heinz ketchup of nu metal. It's like okay, this is like the blueprint almost.
Almost. And that is probably what sparked, you know, most of those bands that came out after that just were horrible and decided to go from whatever music they were into at the time to now, I want to be in a nu metal band, you know, and that's unfortunate.
All right, man, you can hop out of the hot seat. I'm sorry putting the pressure on you like that.
All good.
All right, well, dude, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I was super excited to catch your set at Incarceration and get to talk to you for a minute after that. So I'm just really happy to get to walk down memory lane with you and talk about all this new exciting stuff that's going on in the world of P.O.D. and just in the world of Sonny, man. It's awesome. It's good stuff.
Thanks,
I'm excited for it.
Appreciate you, man.
Any socials you want to plug before we get out of here?
I mean, obviously P.O.D. and Sonny Whosevers me, and you can kind of catch on to all the stuff we're doing, and then all the stuff I'm doing personally, you know. So, but I'm just grateful people tune in, man.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sonny, and thank you for everyone watching and listening at home, and all the millions and millions of Jesse Lee fans out there. Take it easy, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, brother. See you, man.